Horror games in VR just hit differently. It's one thing for Freddy Fazbear to just pop on the monitor, it's another for Freddy to leap inches from your face. It's October 1st as I record this video, it's spooky season, so today we're going over the 20 best VR horror games you can play right now. These are games across all current VR platforms and I'll list where you can play each one. Later, I'm going to give you a handful of scary games to look forward to. For any of these games that I own on the Meta platform, I'm going to leave a referral link in the description to give you 25% off the price. Horror games can come in multiple types, so we're going to break this down to 3 separate categories: survival, psychological, and walking simulators. I'm not ranking these games because that's a matter of taste. There are some games on this list I personally don't care for, but I included them because they are well regarded in the VR community and I wanted to give you the facts and let you pick what interests you the most. Let me know down in the comments if I missed any games. Let's start with survival. The first 2 games on the list are chapters 1 and 2 of The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners. Across these 2 games, which takes place in New Orleans with no crossover to the comics or TV shows, you play as a nomad-nosed tourist trying to scavenge and survive as you get caught up in a war between 2 factions. Just like the shows in the comics, the humans are the real monsters here, but neither game is short on zombies. The best part about both games are 2 sound effects, one when you're near a zombie, and the second when the zombie spots you. That second sound, especially if I don't immediately know where the zombie is, send a chill down my spine every time, and I've played roughly 60 hours across the 2 chapters. The first game released on Quest 2 was a buggy mess, with some of that mess carrying over to the PC and PSVR2 versions. If you truly want a challenge, stick around the location till sunset in the first game, and in the second game, go visit Old Town. I wish you luck on both. Number 3, Cosmodread. This is a sci-fi roguelite set on an abandoned spaceship. The game plays out like a scavenger hunt across a procedurally generated map that changes every time you die. Your mission is to find all the components to repair the ship and escape to Earth. You also have to find and constantly replenish your oxygen. There's a crafting element to forge new weapons and expand your inventory. Oh, and you'll need those weapons for the monsters on the ship with you. This game is an endurance test with excellent sound design, particularly the fleshy sounds from all the mutated viscera scattered around the ship. Number 4, Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. This is a compilation of multiple games in the series, including the first 3 main games. That makes describing the gameplay very difficult, as what you do physically varies from game to game. In every game, you're constantly being attacked by animatronics in the form of animals or dolls. You have to stop them from killing you with various actions: shutting doors, wearing masks, shining flashlights on them. Again, it's different in every game, but survival is the key here. Most of the games have you trying to last from midnight till 6 AM, which gets increasingly more difficult level by level. This franchise is legendary for its jump scares and has inspired countless other games. Speaking of which, numbers 5 and 6 are Crawlspace 1 and 2. Heavily inspired by Five Nights, the first game sees you hired by a father to retrieve an increasingly number of missing creepy baby dolls from the crawlspace under his daughter's room. You pantomime crawling around till you find the doll while being stalked by a clattering, giggling killer doll who moves much faster than you. In the second game, for some insane reason, you've taken up a job as a ventilation tech crawling through vents to fix broken fans. You can guess what happens there. Both of these games are currently free to play. Number 7, Into the Radius. It'd be easy to compare this game to The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners, and the core gameplay is similar, but this game puts a heavier emphasis on the survival aspect and plays more on suspense than action. You have to keep your guns clean, recycle empty clips, constantly manage your storage, things like that. Story-wise, you're tapped in a dystopian anomaly cut off from the outside world. There is a lengthy story campaign here, but I know people who would spend dozens of hours in this world just scavenging and trying not to die. There is a sequel currently in development. Number 8, Reiko's Fragments. This is an asymmetric PCVR game with a pretty simple loot. Across 2 maps are creepy dolls, one of which holds a relic that unlocks a portal allowing you to escape. Every other doll is booby-trapped to jump scare you. Oh yeah, and there's a blind geisha walking around stalking you the whole time. Any sound will bring her rushing at you to literally tear you apart. The game has a companion PC app where your friends outside of VR can lay traps to slam doors, turn off lights, hurl objects across the floor, and slow your movement with creepy hands in the ground. This game is fairly old and no longer has dev support, so expect a fair amount of jank, but it's a great game for parties or live streams. My community loves it. Number 9, Inverse. This Dead by Daylight inspired multiplayer game just released on Quest. It's asymmetrical 4v1 where you play as either one of 4 scientists trying to reboot a series of terminals to unlock a weapons cache, or a terrifying creature called the Null trying to stop them. As a scientist, all the terminals have to be rebooted within a time limit to unlock the guns, then you have to kill the monster in a shorter time window to win. You're aided by health syringes, radar, and booby traps. As the monster, your goal is simply kill or be killed. In the lobby with friends, you can expect to laugh quite a bit, but getting surprised by the monster will make you jump every time. That's all for survival horror, let's move to psychological. Number 10, Deadness. I'm gonna say right off the bat that the movement system in this game will take some practice because you're in a wheelchair. It almost feels like a horror platformer as you have to wheel across wooden planks over holes in the floor and weave yourself between beds and chairs to stay ahead of the monsters in this asylum. Your enjoyment of this one will entirely depend on how fast you pick up the movement system. I die more often fumbling with the wheelchair than anything else. Number 11, Phasmophobia. You and your friends are a team of ghost hunters investigating paranormal entities with cameras, sensors, and bizarrely just asking the ghost questions. Your goal is to identify the type of spirit and get out without dying. It's been popular in the flat screen world for years, has VR support on PC, and is currently being ported to PSVR2. Number 12, Edge of Nowhere. This one is easy to overlook because it is an exclusive to the dying Rift platform, takes place in third person which turns off a lot of VR players, and is best played with a gamepad, but is one of my favorite games on this list. You're looking for your fiancé who was lost on an expedition in Antarctica. Along the way, you face a number of monsters who may or may not be real as you slowly lose your grip on reality. The game is based on the H.P. Lovecraft story At the Mountain of Madness. I can't really go into more detail than that without spoiling the excellent story. Just play it and thank me later. Number 13, Wilson's Heart. Another Oculus Rift exclusive set in a 1940s hospital. You wake up in the hospital to find your heart has been replaced with a mysterious device. You set about navigating a maze of traps that warp your reality to find out who took your heart and why. It feels like being inside a classic Albert Hitchcock movie, aided by the excellent black and white visuals throughout the game. Again, I don't want to spoil the story by telling you too much here. If you don't have a Meta headset, you will need the Revive plugin to play this game. Again, that link is down in the description. Number 14, Layers of Fear VR. This game is great for fans out there who like to test their wits in a spooky environment. If you like piecing together puzzles while voices whisper all around you as you traverse long corridors, this is your game. The story comes together through flashback voiceovers and pictures scattered throughout the mansion. I've yet to finish this one as this type of tension wigs me out the most. Number 15, Lies Beneath. This is a gorgeous comic book style game with more action than most of the games on this list. You are a young girl who wakes up after a car crash to find out that your father, who is driving the car, is missing. You wander through your hometown, which is overrun with monsters, including these head crabs that are among the most disturbing creatures I've ever seen in a VR game. I love the art style in this game, there are multiple boss fights, and for my money, it's the best game in this list, despite not being the scariest one. Number 16, Wraith the Oblivion Afterlife. In this game, you wake up and you're already dead. Great start. The rest of the game is about unraveling how you died since you don't remember, and interacting with other specters in the Shadowlands, an alternate version of the living world. There's some combat in this, but the game mostly relies on exploration, stealth, and use your otherworldly Wraith powers to piece everything together. It's based off a tabletop role-playing game from the 1990s. By the way, have you tapped the like button yet? If not, go ahead and do that now and drop me a fist bump emoji in the comments to let me know you did. Our last category are walking simulators. These games are more straightforward narratives than the others, with limited, if any, tools or weapons where you're mostly just playing your role in the story. Number 17, Face Your Fears 2. This game is split into two separate stories set in the same location in different time periods. In the first, you're driving up a mountain to find your missing sister when you crash your car and wander up to a house you have no business going anywhere near, hoping to find her or some help. The second takes place years before the first story. You play as a paranormal investigator inspecting the same house and connecting the backstory of the family that's lived there for generations. I like this game because most of the scary moments involve more real world things like spiders, snakes, rats, open graves, and houses with creaky floorboards. There's a clip of my Twitch channel that will always live in infamy. I dropped too many F-bombs to show it here, I'll leave a link down below. Number 18, Paranormal Activity. Another spooky house with spooky things happening. All the members of your family are either missing or seemingly possessed. You have to track down items to unlock all the doors and hidden areas of the house to figure out what happened. I was so tense playing this that it took me over an hour to realize I could actually run in the game. It's one of the shorter games on this list. A decent player will finish it in less than 2 hours, but it's a fun ride start to finish. Number 19, Affected the Manor. Easily the shortest game in this list at less than 20 minutes. This one plays out like walking through a VR haunted house. It's a great option to pass around to friends at the party instead of trying to set all of that up yourself IRL. Number 20, The Exorcist Legion Sin. This game is spread across 5 chapters. You play as a cop dispatched to a gruesome murder at a church and things quickly go downhill. After acquiring tools of the trade like a cross and holy water, you dive into demonic possessions, hallucinations, reanimated corpses, the usual. But don't worry, you've got salt. Salt! That's all 20 games, but there's more. First, I do need to acknowledge one game I didn't talk about. Propagation Paradise Hotel released earlier this year, but I have not played it yet. That'll be later on this month. Seeing this is a fairly recent game, I will give it a full review before the month is over. Also, at the beginning of the video, I promised to give you some upcoming VR horror games to look forward to, so here they are. Manor VR was the best horror game in 2022 and is now getting a VR port on PC and PSVR2. I've spoken to multiple friends who played this on flat screen, and they gave me a big hell no when I asked them if they would try it in VR, even knowing where all the landmines are. Happy Funland is a dark comedic horror game that has you exploring an abandoned theme park at night. This kind of dumb idea seems suited for a 90s slasher flick, and as someone who grew up with those movies, I'm totally here for it. Unless there are clowns, then I'm out. Expect this on Steam soon. The Exorcist Legion Sin is a sequel to the game I mentioned earlier. This was originally supposed to come out in 2022, but Director Fun Train delayed it, and as of this video, we still don't have a release date. This sequel will feature co-op, so you can bring a friend into the torture with you. That's the full list. Let me know if you plan to play any of these, if you played any before, or if there are some games you think I should add to the list. Once again, check the description for any referral links for 25% off the games I own on Meta, and as always, thank you for watching.